Hello everyone, welcome to Downtown Tailoring. 1/4 circle, half a circle, 3/4, 1 circle, 2 circle. In today's video, we are gonna tackle everything you need to make circular skirts. Just right now, save that video because you will want to come back to see the formulas and every detail because this video is packed on information. So let's go! Today we are gonna use one of our mannequins so the patterns can fit very well in my space camera. As you know, circular skirts are so beautiful and they are very easy to make. They can be worn on almost any occasion. We can work in very different circles. For example, we can have 1/4 circle, and that's because if you divided the circle in quarter, then you just take one, then you will have, of course, 1/4 circle. The 1/4 circle is the smaller one and it's pretty slim. Then we can have as well like a half a circle, so you can get the half a circle, and this one is getting a little bit wider. Then we are gonna work as well with the 3/4 circle. So it's almost the circle but not quite. And this one gets a very nice flare to it. We are gonna make as well a 4 circle skirt, and this one is wide and nice, and you know, it's used for many occasions. But one of the most magnificent skirts you can have is the one that you make with 2 circles. This one is so wide, so flare. It is used for gala. It looks fantastic. Something worth highlighting that the arcs in each circular skirt will be completely different. Let's see that example. I have here the circle of double circle skirt and the arc of circle of 1/4 circle. If I put together the two waist, you can see that they belong to the same person, but the little circle for the waist in the double circle skirt is very small compared to the arc of the 1/4 circle skirt. So when you encounter a graphic like that, we almost could say that it's misleading. It's explaining you the difference, but it's really confusing in the way they will look at the end. I'm going to show you at the end of all the explanation how this graphic should look. But before that, I want to explain you how I learned to make those skirts in the fashion school. So for example, you go from the basic patterns to any patterns that you need. So in this case, we are going to talk about the 1/4 circle skirt. Usually in the industry, we work with half of the pattern. So if I compare it with my basic patterns, I will say that I have my center front and I will have as well my center back. And obviously, I'm going to cut the skirt with the fabric folded by the center front, or what will be the center front. So pretty much I will take my pattern and I will make sure that I'm not taking in the hips or the waist. And then I have to close those darts, but I'm gonna do it later. First, I'm gonna mark parallel lines, and of course, I have to put the lines going through the center of the darts. And then I'm gonna mark the numbers, just because that way you make sure that you are not losing any pieces. And I'm gonna cut all those lines. When I cut the lines that goes through the center dart, I'm gonna cut until the dart starts. And then I'm gonna slash one part of the dart until that point. That way I will be able to close those darts later. Oh, something that I forgot that I should have done before is to shorten the skirt to the length that I wanted. So I'm gonna do it before I keep going. Okay, now I'm ready, and the first thing I'm gonna do is closing the darts. As you see, I just have to close them, and right away it will open a little bit the skirt at the bottom, making it flare. And what I used to do in fashion school is just to spread those pieces as much as I needed for either my circle skirt, half circle, whatever I need. In this case, we are working with 1/4 circle, right? So pretty much we know that 1/4 circle should have like a pretty much a 90-degree angle. That's 1/4 of 360. Half of this 90-degree is 45-degree. So let's say if I just fold my paper, making sure the two lines are together, I will get my 45-degree angle. This is probably a little bit too much work. Instead, we can do a little bit of geometry and have a formula like that. So in this formula, we are going to try to find the radius. And it says that the radius is 2 times the waist divided by pi. So how can we do that? Remember, we are going to work half of the skirt, not the whole skirt. And I'm going to just write all my equivalents. For example, if I'm working for a full person using the metric system. So let's say that her waist is 69 centimeters. So I'm going to just write 2 by 69 centimeter and then divided by pi. And remember, pi is 3.1416. And I will have my radius that will be 4393, almost 44 centimeters. That's easier. But how about if we are working with the imperial system? It makes it a little bit more difficult. Let's say that the waist of our friend is 27 inches and 3/8. How can we do that? I'm attaching a resource that is called Understanding the Ruler of the Imperial System, and right down at the bottom of that page, I have written some equivalents of the fraction to the decimal system. So if her waist is 27 and 3/8, I'm just going to take the 3/8 here, and that corresponds to 0.375. So I'm going to write 27 inches and 0.375. And that's it. Now I can make my calculations using my calculator in the same fashion I did before. So in that case, my radius will be 17.27 inches. So I'm going to take my resource sheet and then I'm going to see what corresponds to 0.427. And I see that it's between 0.375 and 0.5. So you pretty much can say that this is around 17 inches and a half or 17 inches and 3/8 plus 1/16, something like that. And you can do your work. But as I said before, we are going to work with my mannequin, which is 1/3 of the scale. And I need a name for that mannequin too, so please let me know in the comment, how should I call it? So I took my measurement for the waist, and the waist in this mannequin is 9 inches and 1/8. And remember, if we take again the conversion sheet that I gave to you, that will be something like a 9.125. And I just have to use the formula to waist, so 9.125 divided by pi, which is 3.1416. And then I just have to make this calculation, and the result is 5.81. So then I'm gonna look again what will be 0.81 on my table, and this corresponds around 3/4. As you can see, probably working with the metric system might be a little bit more convenient when you are doing those kinds of calculations, right? But still you can do it using the imperial without any problem. So I'm gonna do what I did before. I started with the 90-degree angle, as I said before, but remember, I'm gonna work half of the scale. So you can use like a ruler that will mark you the 45-degree angle, or you can do what we did before, which is make sure that the side lines are together and you will have your 45-degree angles. Then, so one part will be your center front and the other your center back. So we have the radius. The radius will be 5 inches and 3/4. So I'm gonna check where my 5 inches and 3/4 go. And then I'm gonna go from the point of that angle. I'm gonna keep moving my ruler always at 5 inches and 3/4, and I'm gonna make an arc. And that arc will be my waist. You could use a compass too, but usually they are too small for a full scale skirt pattern. So for a skirt that is not too long, 19 inches is a very good length. And remember that today we are working with a mannequin that is 1/3 of the scale. So if I divide that 19 inches by 3, we will have 6 inches and 3/8. So I'm going to start with the center line and I'm going to mark my 6 inches and 3/8. And then I'm going to keep marking, but I'm going to make sure that always my ruler will go to the center of that circle. That way I make sure that the length is very precise. We are going to talk about those lengths later on, but for now this is the most precise things you can do. And here you go, we have my skirt pattern as we did it before, and I just have to mark center front and center back and make sure that I'm not cutting this piece twice, but rather cut it folded at the center. This pattern will make me skirt that will be biased at the front and at the grain and at the weft at the back. So how do you cut that skirt? Usually when you cut any pattern, you fold your fabric lengthwise because usually we cut half of it. But in this case, for example, if I fold my fabric and put my pattern, then my skirt will be at the grain on the front, which is not bad, but it's not what you were looking for, right? You don't want to have the bias on the back seam that it has the zipper, right? What you usually do, you are going to take your fabric and you are going to join the grain line and the weft in one line. That way you are going, like we did in the paper, you are going to create the 45-degree angle and you just have to place your pattern on top and that's it. I'm going to cut it in this way. I'm not leaving seam allowance for the hem or the waist, because the waist a little bit, because I'm not planning to finish that skirt. So it's all done, just one seam. And I put a bias on like a waistband and I'm putting it on the mannequin, and here you go, is the skirt. This is the way it looks. Look how cute it looks, the bias at the front. Okay, now is the time for our half circle skirt. And remember that this is the whole skirt, but we are gonna work with just half of the skirt as we did before. We have our formula. In this case, the formula is different, of course, and the formula is radius is equals to waist divided by pi. That's very easy. So we are gonna work and do exactly the same. Remember that we determined before that the waist is 9.125 and we are gonna divide that by pi, and the result is 2.90. Again, I'm gonna go and look what 0.90 means, and it's somewhat between 7/8 and 15/16, right? So 2 and 7/8, and that should be very good. So we are gonna start by doing exactly the same. We are gonna mark our 90-degree angles, and 90-degree angles will be half of the skirt. And then we are gonna take our radius and we are gonna do exactly the same. We are gonna mark first the waist and then the length of the skirt, and that's it. We have our pattern. Always the trick with those skirts is to know how to fold the fabric before cutting it. In this case, what we are gonna do, we are gonna fold it through the weft. We are gonna have grain with grain together, but fold it through the weft. Then I'm just gonna put my pattern and I'm gonna cut my fabric. Again, I just have one seam to go, which is pretty straightforward, and my bias on the waist. And let's see how it looks. Oh, you see, it's a little bit wider, it's pretty much double, so it looks really nice and cute. So guys, I don't want to make any video too long, so I think this is enough information for one video, but right away you don't have to wait. Just click to the second part where we are going to see the rest of the circular skirts.